I know I talk a ton about light, and I think light is absolutely vital. But something that I think is actually even more underrated than light, but deserves an equal place in someone's self-healing arsenal is earthing. And so I want to talk all about earthing and basically just get you to understand how making direct contact with our skin to the earth provides so many healing benefits. Let's flash back though. Let's flash back to the fact that we always used to be connected to the earth, right? Um, the body is able to connect to Earth's energies, and I'll explain exactly what that is in a more scientific way coming up here in a little bit. But we've always been connected to Earth's energies because we would have been living either with bare feet or with animal hide, and all of those actually maintain direct contact to an energetic flow from the Earth into our physical bodies. It's only been since the advent of shoes and then houses that do not connect directly to the surface of the earth using artificial flooring that we've really started to create an extreme disconnect from Earth's healing energies. And so, something to be aware of is that the surface of the earth is full of negative charge. And if you've been following me at all for any given length of time, you realize that the energy currency of the body is also this negative charge. And we're designed literally inside of our cells to have abundant negative charge. This negative charge, if we can maintain its abundance inside of the cell, it's measured in millivolts. So negative 20 to 25 millivolts or more, actually, depending on the cell type. But if we can maintain this negative charge inside of the cell is healthy. It has all the energy it needs to run its tasks, and it's the correct alkalinity, right? And so there's a lot of talk about acidity and alkalinity. Another way of saying that is the cell electron rich? That's an alkaline environment. Our blood requires a certain amount of negative charge. Again, a slight negative charge, very important. And if we get outside of that, we actually get something called metabolic acidosis. The red blood cells themselves have this halo of negative charge around them. That's required for healthy blood flow, but also healthy delivery of nutrients from the red blood cells themselves to the cells. And so the body just requires this negative charge. And I've talked about how light helps us maintain this negative charge, specifically through building exclusion zone water, that negatively charged water that lives inside of our bodies, inside of our cells. But did you know that earthing also has the potential to maintain exclusion zone water? So the surface of the earth has this beautiful negative charge. It's infinite, this charge. And so this is literally a gift from the earth that we're designed to interact with on a regular basis. And we pull that charge into our bodies, and we're able to funnel that charge wherever we might be charge deficient. So think of it almost as, okay, I've got a bunch of different cell phones plugged up to this, let's picture this charger that could basically be divided, plugged into the wall and divvied up via the charging wires to all the different cell phones. So you've got 5 different cell phones. Well, that charge is coming from one source, but it gets to be funneled to different devices, right? To maintain full charge, to maintain full battery. Our body is the same way. We have the ability to what's called conduct or pull or flow the electrons from the earth via bare skin into our bodies. And then we've got various channels through inside of our bodies, from the water inside of our bodies to the connective tissue inside of our bodies, where we can funnel this negative charge where we may be deficient. And an area that may be charge deficient might be an area that's experiencing mitochondrial dysfunction, which drives up inflammation. It may be an area that's experiencing chronic pain. We'll oftentimes see pain go down drastically in before and afters when people are doing extended earthing. And so just make note, we require negative charge. When we become charge deficient, symptoms can appear. Cells become dysfunctional. They're not able to run all of their programs. So that's not just it, right? Yes, we can maintain this beautiful charge by touching the earth, but believe it or not, within just a few seconds of maintaining contact with the earth through bare skin, we create an autonomic nervous system balance. So, I don't want to say like it's always good to be parasympathetic, because it's not, or it's always good to be sympathetic, because it's not. What we require is an active interplay between the two that adjusts accordingly depending on what we're experiencing. And what we see in autonomic nervous system testing when it comes to earthing, that within seconds, the autonomic nervous system comes back into a healthy, balanced state. Also, I have many clients anecdotally who have told me when they're experiencing nervous system dysregulation, one of the best things that they can do is go outside and earth. And that allows their body again to regain that balance. Another thing here that I've seen in clinical practice is when people experience heart arrhythmias. And again, this is not medical advice, but I have seen this clinically, where people who experience heart arrhythmias go outside and earth their feet. And because of the earth's electrical nourishment, the heartbeat is an electrical pulse, and because of earth's electrical nourishment, we can help to maintain a healthy heartbeat. And because the autonomic nervous system, specifically the balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic activity into the heart, really dictates our heart rate rhythm and our heart rate variability, I see people's rhythm come back into alignment, come back into rhythmicity. And so interesting anecdotal things for you to maybe look into more. Those red blood cells that require that healthy negative charge, well, after earthing, about 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see that negative charge replenish, which means that these red blood cells are no longer stuck. The blood is no longer clumpy or thick. It's flowing in this really organized vortex flow, which is it's designed to do. The opposite of that flow would be stagnation or turbulent flow, and turbulent flow is very inefficient. When we can organize that flow into a vortex, it almost maintains a self-sustaining flow. It actually does, right? That's one of the reasons why the heart doesn't have to work as hard with pumping, right? And I know the heart is not truly a pump, right? But for just a more mainstream take on this is that instead of the pressure coming from the heart, it's the vortexing of the blood that self-sustains the flow. So a very important thing to maintain. After about 20 to 40 minutes of continuous earthing, you can see a decrease in inflammation. So if you're experiencing, say, arthritic knees or pain in a certain area of the body, in a scan that's called a thermographic scan that shows hot spots in the body that light up pink and red and orange, you can see those hot spots literally go away on an after scan where it becomes the normal greens and blues, right? So the inflammation can go down. And we even know that earthing is a way that we can actually reinforce our circadian rhythm. There's actually a fluctuation over the course of 24 hours in your local environment, in my local environment, right? The intensity of the flow of electrons or the flow of charge is not the same over the course of 24 hours. It actually fluctuates in a rhythmic 24-hour way, just like the sun fluctuates and there's a period of darkness that can help, that is the primary driver of our circadian rhythm. We can actually do the same thing with earthing. We can reinforce circadian rhythmicity with earthing because of the fact that there is a predictable fluctuation in the amount of charge that we'll be pulling through at any given point throughout the course of 24 hours. So it's been shown that people, independent of their lighting environment, not controlling for, let's say, blocking artificial light at night or having a very dark sleep space or getting more morning light, all these things that can really help to promote circadian rhythm and sleep, cortisol release at the appropriate time, melatonin release at other times, simply for people who stayed earthed through the night, right? They actually had earthing sheets put on their bed in this one research study. Every single person normalized their cortisol curve to the morning, right? Whereas originally all of their curves were kind of off, like scattered, if you will. Some were earlier than sunrise, some were after sunrise. I mean, so they were all scattered. And then all of a sudden, after the course of 6 weeks, you see them come back into this beautiful normal cortisol surge in the morning. And again, independent of light signaling to me, which is, a beautiful thing to see in terms of being able to reinforce the circadian rhythm signaling we get through light. So such cool stuff. Now, I might get comments about this because what about earthing indoors? What about dirty electricity? Interestingly, none of these research articles that use indoor grounding products control for non-native EMFs or control for dirty electricity, and they still show benefit. So, if you're highly electro-hypersensitive, I might encourage you to not earth through the power grid, through the electricity coming in through, let's say, the third prong in your outlet in the United States. But if you're not, if you're not electrohypersensitive, you can for sure get a benefit without symptoms. I've seen it many times. If you are hypersensitive, you may want to consider running it through a stake in the ground and then pulling through a conductive wire onto a conductive mat. And the only company that I currently recommend when it comes to earthing products is Intuition Physician. Dr. Laura Conover makes the best quality products on the market. By far, I have found. Not that other products are ineffective, right? I love the quality of her products. I love the way that she has started to construct them in terms of even having dirty electricity filtering through certain of cables that she would have people plug into the walls. I mean, she's just a very amazing innovator in this space and a physician who has studied earthing for an extended period of time and has published extensively on it. So Intuition Physician products are the ones that I recommend for indoor earthing and grounding. Otherwise, go outside, bare feet, bare skin, any surface of the earth that is essentially real earth, right? So it could be grass, it could be sand, it could be dirt. You could touch a tree. Anything that's living and growing out of the earth as well is conductive. So you could touch a tree, a bush, a plant. You could simply put a copper stake in the ground. And again, at Intuition Physician's site, she does have a copper stake, essentially, that you could almost like a walking stick that you could place. And that way you don't have to, maybe if you don't feel comfortable wearing having bare feet, but you feel comfortable conducting through your hand, you can do just that. So highly encourage you to experiment with this and play around with earthing. And every little bit matters. So I find that sometimes people have a barrier where they say, well, I can't do 20 minutes continuously, so what's the point? And I'm going to let you know that I actually see major benefit to people when people do frequent little bouts throughout the day, even if it's just 3 times for 2 minutes here, 30 seconds there, 1 minute here. You're reinforcing your circadian rhythm and you're providing negative charge, that electrical nourishment that we absolutely require in order to maintain optimum health. So hope you learned a little bit more about earthing, and I will see you next time.